let me present to you what are the different parts of a course guide. What are some of the best practices or principles that you should apply. Okay, so let us now try to differentiate between a course guide and a study guide. I've heard teachers refer to them like they are the same, but they are actually very different documents. So let us try to differentiate a course guide from a study guide. So you as a teacher in a traditional brick and mortar setting, you normally hand out a syllabus on the first day of the term. Tama po ba, di ba? So when you were handling your courses via your traditional or your brick and mortar classroom, on your first day, what you usually do is hand out your syllabus. So before anything else, of course, you have to hand out the syllabus. So that's what you usually do. But a course guide is actually similar to your syllabus, but it is more than a syllabus. So it is actually more detailed. So I know that you are used to the syllabus, and the syllabus gives the course coverage. It includes the course description, the course objectives, the course requirements, and grading scheme. But now that you're in an online and remote learning environment, you should go beyond the syllabus and develop a more comprehensive course guide. So it is similar in terms of form and layout to your syllabus, but it is actually very much more detailed. So we can say that a course guide is more than a syllabus because its purpose is not only to provide an overview of the course, but also to guide learners in independent study and collaborative inquiry online and remotely. So it is the course guide that sets the tone for the course, and it gives the learners a clear picture of what to expect, including what they need to do in order to successfully complete the course. So a course may be seen as easy or difficult, formal or informal, based on the course requirements and course policies which are laid out in the course guide. Furthermore, the schedule of learning activities in the course guide allows learners to plan their personal study schedule and pace themselves as they engage in independent learning and, of course, in some instances, collaborative learning. So students learn to value the course guide as a tool for navigating their way through the course and achieving the course objectives. So it's very important that we are able to differentiate a course guide from the ordinary syllabus that we prepare. Because a syllabus is basically just a listing, basically listing down all the course objectives, the course requirements, and the course references. But in an online learning, in a remote teaching and learning environment, it is important that you are able to lay down everything about the course. Remember, you are not always there to guide your students, unlike when you were in a face-to-face or a traditional brick-and-mortar setting wherein you meet your students regularly. Probably you even meet them daily. But in an online or remote teaching and learning, students actually need to be more independent and self-directed. So it is the course guide that sets this tone. The course guide helps them navigate throughout the course. So you have to put there everything. So later, I will show you an example of a course guide for my course. And I will also share with you later the different parts of a course guide. Okay, so that is now clear. I hope you have differentiated a syllabus from a course guide. I know that you are used to giving just, handing out syllabus on the first day of your classes, but now that you are in an online or remote teaching and learning environment, you have to go beyond the syllabus, which means you have to really prepare a very detailed course guide, because a course guide now is a tool for you and your student to navigate their way throughout the course. So it becomes a Bible for them. They would always go back to the course guide whenever they think of a particular requirement that they need to do. Then they would consult the course guide. When is the assignment due? What are the other requirements that I need to do? What is the policy of my teacher in terms of late assignment or about missed exam? What is the policy on plagiarism? So all these things are included in your course guide. Now, while there might be differences in the way a course guide is written based on the writing style and personality of the teacher, the essential parts of the course guide must be the same. Okay, so these are the essential parts of the course guide. Number one, the course objectives must be clearly written. So I will not talk here about how to develop your course objectives because I'm under the assumption that your course objectives have undergone thorough review. They are now outcome-based, and you are actually using the CHED CMO for your respective programs. So a course objective states what students should be able to do, such as what skills or competencies they should develop by the time they complete the course. So course objectives must be clearly written in your course guide. Again, let me advise you to go back to the CHED CMO for your respective programs and try to review if the course objectives that you have included in your course guide are the same as that of the CHED CMO, which have been prescribed for the program that you're handling. And then, of course, the second part is the course description. Course description provides a context to the course objectives and the entire course. So again, for this, you can go back to the CHED CMO for your respective programs. Okay, so here at UP, the course objectives and the course description have been approved by the University Board of Regents, so we do not actually deviate, which means what the objectives that have been approved in the program are the same objectives and course description that we put in our course guide. Okay, so the third part is the course outline. So the course outline, it shows the course coverage, usually in the form of a two-level outline. So with the unit titles as the first level entries and the module titles as second level entries. If the modules are not clustered according to units, then the module titles will be the first level entries and the subtopics will be the second level entries. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So we have three parts so far. The first one is the course objectives, the course description, and the course outline. Of course, all of these parts should actually be parallel to the CHED CMO for the respective programs. Okay, so this is not something new because I know that all these are actually part of your course syllabus. So what you will do now is just copy it from your course syllabus to your course guide. Okay, now moving on, the fourth part are the course materials, which includes the list of learning resources that students will study in the course. So this also includes your study guide. Now, in the list of resources, you should include the required readings, for example, the book chapters, the journal articles, and if these are online resources, make sure that you include the URL or the website address. And if these are multimedia materials, how will the students be able to access these multimedia materials? Will they be available online? So if they're available online, you should also provide the URL. And if they are not, you should include there how they will be able to access that specific multimedia material. Now, in the case of book chapters, the book title and chapter number should be clearly stated. And in the case of a website or other online materials, the URL or website address should be included so that student can access the site even without logging in your school's LMS. You also need to state also whether, as I mentioned earlier, whether digital copies or links to the materials will be made available on the course site or will be provided to the students. But of course, let me just warn you, you have to consider here copyright considerations of the learning resources that you will use for your course. So there is a long discussion about this. We have a number of videos or learning resources that UPOU has produced on learning resources. Just go to the networks at upou.edu.ph. You can search the words like OER, learning resources, open educational resources, and you will be guided to that particular multimedia material. Now, let me just advise you that it's very important that you understand about the considerations on copyright. Because if you are using resources which are copyrighted, then unless you have permission from the author or the publisher, then you might be having some copyright infringement. Which is why in many of our talks, we usually advise teachers to use open educational resources. OERs are free and open access, and they have a Creative Commons license, which are open licenses that allows you to use the materials even without asking permission from the author or publisher. Okay, now the fifth part of the course guide is the study schedule. So the study schedule is the schedule of the learning activities that students are expected to do. The usual learning activities are, example, reading the module study guides and learning resources, participating in discussion forums and writing assignments. And in formulating the study schedule, the teacher, the faculty member, plans the time allotment for each topic and activity. For the student, the study schedule provides guidance regarding course pacing. So, if you are as a teacher, it's your responsibility to plan out how students will be able to work on a particular requirement, and then try to pace so that students will not experience overload when they're doing their course requirements. The study schedule are usually presented in a form of a matrix or calendar of activities. So here is an example of a matrix wherein you can include in your course guide. So this is an example for my course. So for example, study period. So for this week, starting last Saturday until September 18, I'm now in my module 2 of my course, which is about the sustainability movement. So I put there the module number and title, and then the topic, so that students will be guided which topics are supposed to be covered for this week. So I have 3 major topics for 1 week: the history of environment, the sustainability movement, trends and directions, and some theories on change. And then another topic is where you put your learning activities. What they are supposed to do for that particular week. So as a teacher, this is what I put there. I am expecting my student to participate in discussion forum. The discussion forum is in their learning management system. And then I also encourage them to share resources. And then they are supposed to read this major reading, The Rise of Grassroots: Biodiversity Activism and the Rebirth of Environmentalism. And I put there that the file is uploaded in the course site and printed copy is provided to students with no internet connectivity. And they will be assessed based on the discussion forum postings. So this is an example of a learning activity or a schedule of learning activities that you can actually include in your course guide. Okay? All right. So moving on to the different parts of a study guide. So the sixth part is the assessment scheme or plan, which includes the list of course requirements, including your assignment and examination. And then you give the guidelines for discussion forums and explains the grading system to be used in the course. So we will discuss this further as we move on to the other slides, but let me just share the number 7 and number 8 parts of the course guide, and these are the general guidelines. So you should also include your house rules. The house rules include policies or guidelines about academic integrity, the referencing styles. For example, in my course, I asked them to use APA. And then you also include their netiquette for the course. Because if bullying is rampant in face-to-face setting, it also happens in online and remote teaching and learning. So you should put there the netiquette for your course. How do you expect your students to behave in your course, even if it's an online environment? How should they communicate with each other in terms of style? So you would see there, since it's an online platform, you would see students typing in like it's a text, wherein they shorten or abbreviate everything. So it should be part of your course policy if you don't accept those kinds of writing. And then you may refer students to the university's policy on cheating and plagiarism, and I've mentioned the preferred referencing style in your discipline. For example, APA, MLA, or Chicago. And then if you have a preferred set of netiquette guidelines, please indicate the URL or web address. So you don't really need to develop your own netiquette. You can borrow netiquettes from other schools or universities. But if you have very specific policies for your course, then you should be able to include it in your course guide. Okay? This is very important because let me just share an experience. I encountered a couple of students wherein they were fighting within my course, and they were saying bad things already. It was quite a heavy discussion within an online environment, and you would know because if you're texting, it's very heavy on your heart when you see bad text which are exchanged, and these are actually exchanges within our discussion forum, within the discussion forum. So what I did is I referred them to my course policies, and I told them that I will remove the postings that they did because it runs counter to the policies which I have included in the course guide. So it's always advisable to include everything in your course guide so that you will have something to refer to when an incident happens in your course. So for example, if there's a cyberbullying that happens, then you can refer them to the course guide. It's part of your policy that you don't tolerate cyberbullying in your course. Okay, and of course, you have to include your contact information. How will your students be able to contact you? Will you allow them to send you text messages, or will you allow them to call you via your mobile phone? Or will you just accommodate them through the LMS or through email? So all these things should be included in your contact information. And you should be very clear. Otherwise, if you put everything there, for example, you put out your mobile number, and then you don't want your students to contact you, but you already put it in your contact information. So expect that students will be contacting you. And one of the sharing of some of the teachers who are new in online learning is that they experienced texts or call in the middle of the night or in the wee hours of the morning, and they actually answered the call. So if you don't want that, then you should put it in your contact information that you will just entertain calls from, for example, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., or you will just entertain messages from your students via your email or your learning management system. Okay, so all those things should be very clear to your students and should be part of your course guide. Okay, now let's go a little bit. Let's go back a little bit to the assessment scheme or plan. So you should include in your course guide a summative list, or it can actually be in a tabular form like what I'm showing you in the screen, of the course requirements and the weight to be given to each requirement. So this is an example of a course requirement for my graduate course. So discussion forum participation is required. So it's actually 25% of the grade. A group report, this is a collaborative activity, is 25% of the grade. Then I have one major assignment, but it consists of 4 parts, which are part of a which actually build into one big research paper, is 25% of their final grade, and the final exam is 25% of their final grade. So this should be listed, or this should be included in your course guide. So this is not something that students parang manghuhula sila, how will I be graded for this course? If I participate, will it be graded? So mga ganun yung mga tanong na estudyante, which is why you have to include everything in your course guide. And it should be very detailed. So aside from this list of requirements, you should describe each requirement in detail. So for example, you should describe what a discussion forum is. Now, this is very necessary since your students are new to online learning. So in the brick and mortar or in a face-to-face session, this actually takes the place of a class participation. So wherein you ask students to participate in the class, you ask them questions, and then they will participate, and then you grade them. So it's a graded participation. But since that is quite impossible in an online setting, because you cannot really always schedule a live lecture like this one or a synchronous lecture, because you do not know the internet connectivity of your students. So if you require them to attend a live lecture, some will be disadvantaged. So the graded participation is actually replaced by a discussion forum. So you should include this in your course guide, what a discussion forum is, and what are your expectations from your students. How many forums will students be expected to participate in? So for example, in my course, I have, in one of my courses, I have 11 modules, and I expect them to participate in a discussion forum in each module because it is 25% of their grade. But of course, that will depend on you. It's not, I'm not saying that that is the right thing to do. It is not necessary to have one discussion forum for each module. You can actually have just a few discussion for your entire course. So that would depend on your design of the learning activities. But what is important is that these are clearly articulated in your course guide, okay? And then you describe the objectives of the forums in general and in the context of your particular course. What is your minimum expectations regarding student participation, including the frequency of participation, the length of posts and courtesy, and other guidelines for forum participation. So as I mentioned, it is not necessary to have one discussion forum for each module. You could decide to have one forum for a set of modules or a unit. What is important is for you to balance the number of forums with other activities or requirements. Okay, now let me give you an example of forum pointers, which I include in my course guide. So this is what I put in my discussion forum post pointer. So I told my students, and these are articulated in my course guide and also reflected in the course site or in the learning management system, that I am expecting them to post at least twice or thrice on each board, and that their first posting will be their comment or answer to the guide question. So we usually, as a teacher, we develop the discussion forum guide question. The discussion forum guide question need not be included in the course guide. But what you should include in the course guide is the clear description about the discussion forum. Now, the discussion forum guide question can just be uploaded in the learning management system. So, so let me just share again this pointer. So I've asked them that the other posting will be their response or reaction to the postings of their classmates. And then I told them to take note that in posting their comments, they should be very careful with the tone of their posting and the choice of their words. This is for a science communication subject. And I've told them that they should respect each other's opinion, no matter how odd or unusual they may be. And then I put this specifically about contributing substantive post, because you will see as you go through the semester, students would normally say in a post, I agree, great post, great perspective. So it's like they're just agreeing to the post and then they consider it already as their response or reaction to the posting of their classmate. So this is a very clear instruction from me that what I consider substantive post are these posts which include the following elements, and that I do not consider I agree comments as substantive post, but but of course they are also welcome to cultivate a friendly environment among peers. So these are the posts that I consider substantive. For example, asking questions about the original post, pointing out in a respectful manner possible errors in the post, and offering up a source of information on the topic for further discussion, sharing of links, videos, and other online resources on the topic to expand further the discussion, sharing personal experience and insights relevant to the topic, respectfully disagreeing or challenging the post, and sharing an alternative viewpoint, using reliable support, facts, and information to support arguments and points. Example, referring back to the lesson and assigned readings. Agreeing with the perspective, but providing the reason and providing more information to support it. So this is very important because through the years, what I've noticed when students are reacting to a post, they will always say, "I agree, it's a great post. I agree with your point," but that's not a substantive post. So you should ask them to provide the reason why they are agreeing and the argument for that particular support. And then and I also tell them that it would be advisable to write or encode their discussion offline using any word processing software, then cut and paste them in the discussion board. And I told them that in online learning, discussion forums are venue for conversation. So I expect them that postings are their own thoughts expressed in a conversational tone, and that they should not copy-paste the writings from external sources. So they have to synthesize and do an analysis of what they have read from various resources and post them once they have already processed the concepts. Okay, so this is an example of a discussion forum post pointer. Okay, now moving to the assignment. So you should include their detailed description of other requirements. So for example, assignment and examination. So in an online teaching and learning, when we talk of assignment, these are the major summative requirements aside from an exam. So an assignment can be in a form of a research paper, a critical essay, a critique, a report. So we usually call it assignment in an online environment. So in your course guide, you should list all assignments, including the due dates that students must submit to pass the course. So it should be included in the study schedule, the one that I showed you in a matrix form. And then the detailed guidelines for each assignment may be provided separately in the form of assignment guides. So aside from the general description of the assignment, you are also expected to develop a separate assignment guide. So if you will notice in the course package, in the second slide, in the third slide I showed you earlier, one of the parts of a course package is an assignment guide. So aside from the general description of the assignment in your course guide, you must also develop a detailed assignment guide. Okay? And then you should also include their information about examination. So how many exams are required for your course? What are the modes of exams? Will they be take-home? Will they be proctored? Are they open booked? When we talk of a take-home exam in an online setting, it is a set of questions given to students on a set date and time by email or via the course site, wherein students are expected to answer within a specified period. For example, within 3 hours from the time exams were posted, or within 5 hours, or within 10 hours. Now, the questions may be essay questions or problem sets, for example, in mathematics. And of course, you should include in your course guide your exam policies. So for example, if students miss the exam, will they be given special exam? And if you require them to give valid excuse, what would count as valid and when should it be submitted? So all these exam policies and assignment policies should be included in your course guide. So let me share with you this example of a course guide. And this is my course guide for a graduate course on environmental advocacy. So again, as I've said, the design and the way you write it would depend on your writing style and your approach to the course. But what is important is that you include all the different parts of the course guide. Okay, so let us just go through this sample course guide. So I include there a picture to motivate my students. So I put there, it's for the first semester, under what faculty. So the course description is there, the course objectives. I even put the learning outcomes, not necessarily for you, just put in the course objectives. These are my design, but these are just additional information, graduate attributes. And then what are the prerequisites? It would also be nice to put in the prerequisites. And then, of course, the course outline. So as I mentioned, these are 2 levels, right? So for my course, I have a unit level. So the first level is the unit, and the second level is the module, okay? And then, of course, I put in the course materials that are needed, the course schedule and structure. So this is in a matrix form, the course schedule. So everything are already included there, including the self-introduction portion, which I did for the first week. And then for their assignment of virtual report, this is a collaborative activity. And then mostly the activities are discussion forum, but they have a virtual report. Okay, so you put in everything. I also put there a writing break to prepare for their virtual report. And then I put there the date for their reporting. And then, of course, you should include the deadline of your assignment. And then, as I mentioned, the class policies and procedure. Okay. So I put there some links on plagiarism, and of course, referring them to the university academic policies. And then a description of the discussion forum, description of the assignment and the group reporting. And this is their the breakdown of their grades, the grading system of the UP, and I put them some brief description about myself.